Hello and welcome to North Country Matters. My name is Donna Seymour. I'm a member of the St. Lawrence County branch of the American Association of University Women, one of the civic partners for this show. Today I have Tom Chappell, the director of Helping Hands of Potsdam, with me in the studio. Tom, welcome to North Country Matters.
Thanks, Donna.
It's great to have you here. Helping Hands of Potsdam, you describe yourself as a compassionate ministry that distributes food, furniture, household items, and financial assistance to families and individuals in need. And your service area includes the eastern part of St. Lawrence County, Brazier, Colton, Hopkinton, Lawrence, Madrid, Nickelville, Norfolk, Norwood, Pierpont, Potsdam, Stockholm, and South Colton. And we know that's quite a big chunk of real estate, isn't it?
It is, yes.
So you're part of that patchwork of service agencies and volunteer groups that help to meet the needs of people here in the county. Tell us a little bit about when and how Helping Hands got started.
Well, a little over 10 years ago, Cindy Talcott was doing some compassionate ministry at the Nazarene Church in Potsdam, and they gave her some office space. She started with a food pantry for a while. I think it was operating out of her basement. And then not too long after that, they bought the Hannibal Falls United Methodist Church for $1. And since then, we've been steadily growing and working on that facility and expanding not only our service area, but the number of services that we offer.
Well, that's actually a building I'm very familiar with. I grew up in Hannibal. I went to that church when I was a kid, and you're actually very fortunate because a lot of the food banks and helping agencies that are community-based in the county don't have anywhere near that kind of level of facility to take advantage of. So you really have the space to do things that people who are operating out of a basement don't have.
That's right, and there's no rent, and there's no mortgage, and we're tax exempt, so we pretty much pay the heat and try to keep the building up and can stay in business that way.
That's good. What's the difference between how Helping Hands, when it got started, versus the kinds of things that you're doing in the community now? Has it just been an expansion of services, or has your mission actually changed?
One of the neat things about Helping Hands, and I've been doing human services since I was a junior in college. I started in a Salvation Army emergency shelter in Concord, New Hampshire, and they think out of the box. They are not necessarily concerned with where funding is available. They're more concerned with what the needs are. So they've kind of taken a need-based approach to doing human services rather than a funding-based approach. And we, right now, because of that philosophy, do everything except for rent. And that's the easiest way to explain what we do, because we do so many different things. And the only reason we're not doing rent is because too many times we'd give some landlord a check towards rent, and then as soon as that was cashed, they'd end up evicting the tenant anyways. So.
Yeah, and we know that housing, adequate housing stock is a problem here in St. Lawrence County, where a lot of our housing stock it's below standard, and it's very old, and it has a lot of problems to begin with. So I think that you're probably wise not to try to go into that area. Tell us a little bit about the need that you're seeing in the communities that you serve, and how many people are actually using your services? Give us a kind of a sense of the demographics of who you're taking care of.
You know, we have over 4,000 individuals in 2014 that used some service that Helping Hands provided, and over 400 families to make up those 4,000 individuals. So for an agency that started in a very small office only 10 years ago, we've grown incredibly. And we're not open 40 hours a week, but we're open Monday through Thursday, 9 to 1:30. And anyone, I want to say, before you change that channel, can call and get assistance, 268-0633. And what I generally do, Donna, is if we can't help you, we try to find someone who can.
You're aware of the other service providers and what they can do.
Even if you're not in our service area, we'll try to still connect you with someone who is covering your area. So.
Well, this is one of the themes that we've actually been looking at this semester on North Country Matters, is the extent of poverty in the county and the various agencies that have come up with ways to meet that. So we've had the neighborhood center director in, and she's been able to talk a little bit about some of the 34 agencies in St. Lawrence County that provide food assistance, for example. So, and your food pantry is an important part of what you do. So let's talk a little bit about that, and where your food comes from and how you get it distributed out in the community.
Absolutely, and I have to just give a little credit to Daisy Cox, because I've probably learned more about what's available in St. Lawrence County from her than from anyone else.
Yeah, she is a resource unto herself,
absolutely.
Isn't she? Yeah, she's great.
Well, in terms of food, we have a number of churches in Potsdam and Norwood and Colton and Parishville, the surrounding area of Helping Hands, that all support us by collecting in their own churches canned goods. We'll give them a shopping list every month of the things that we need, and individuals from those churches will go out and shop and bring them to their home church on Sunday, and then usually a volunteer will bring all the collections down on a monthly basis to Helping Hands, and that mostly stocks our shelves. There are a few things that we end up going out and buying ourselves, but it's incredible how generous people are. And we're fortunate that we've got a pretty good variety of places to shop in Potsdam now.
Yes, we do. That's very true. And a lot of our smaller communities in the county, that's one of the other things that we've looked at this semester, is they're really food deserts. And other than the local gas station convenience store, there isn't a place to go ahead and get much beyond the sort of real basic staples.
That's right. Yeah, and that was a bit of a, got a little sticker shock when I first moved up to the North Country, because after living in Cortland for 15 years and having every single imaginable grocery store and big box store, we weren't quite so fortunate in the small town that we live in now. So,
yeah, that's very true. One of the things that I know you have just started doing in the last couple of years is also providing emergency firewood, which has been that's a very labor-intensive kind of product. So tell us a little bit about how that got started and who gives you a hand with that.
Well, I had a group from the Presbytery of Northern New York, a Presbyterian organization, visiting to look at Helping Hands with plans to fund us. And one of the men that was touring our facility said, "Can I donate 6 cords of firewood to Helping Hands?" And I said, "Sure, you can donate 6 cords of firewood to Helping Hands." So that pile sat behind Helping Hands for not even a month or two, and another board member from Helping Hands, Barry Scholes, said, "You guys give away firewood?" And he offered more firewood, and I said, "Sure, you can donate firewood to Helping Hands." And from there, it was actually Barry who kind of took that program and ran with it to the point where we're cutting 60 cords of firewood a year and giving away all 60 before the snow's all gone. It will be gone. So
right, yeah, and that's as you say, it's a very labor intensive. So who helps with the piling and the unpiling and the loading and all that kind of stuff?
You know, last year, Donna, it was amazing. We had men from all different churches, and they got together on a Saturday in April, and on that one day cut 40 cords of firewood. And the land that they cut off, the landowner had donated, had given Barry permission to take whatever he wanted, and he didn't clear cut it, but he selectively cut whatever was good for firewood. And that was a case where we had a good day together of fun and fellowship, and I think it was rainy and about 35 degrees.
Well, that's better than 85 degrees when it comes to hauling wood.
Yes, it was. We kept warm because we kept moving and we kept working, and you know, by 2 o'clock we were done and had 2 very large loads of firewood ready to transport to Helping Hands. Yeah. And they're going to do the same thing again this year.
That's great.
On Saturday, April 18th.
Good, good. One of the things that you're able to do that a lot of emergency help places can't do is you actually have room to store household goods, so that if somebody is going through, for example, a fire or something like that, they can come to you and sort of get set back up, can't they?
You know, as you mentioned that, I'm kind of laughing inside, Donna, because we're the only place that I know of in the whole county that gives away free furniture. So we do have some room, But if I had a larger warehouse, if somebody wants to donate one, we'd be glad to have it, because we could literally expand that program 10 times the volume of what it's doing right now. And we've been fortunate because we don't have a lot of space at our location in Hanawa Falls, but we're neighbors with the town of Pierpont, and they've graciously let us place our new leach field on their property. And so they've actually also given us permission to cut off of the old Pierpont town dump, which is 80 acres and has all kinds of firewood on it. So word's getting around, and not only individuals but also municipalities are been incredibly supportive and trying to help us accomplish our mission.
Well, that's one of the things that programs like yours and others are really good at, is establishing that sense of community. And once you know that somebody is in the business to help and that they're really making a good faith effort, then I think a lot of people say, I really, I've got this, I can't use it, I don't want to throw it away, there's no point in selling it, let's make sure it goes to the next person who could use it and sort of pay that forward. So that's a great opportunity. One of the things also that you do is you do have some financial assistance that you give to families for medical and dental and prescription costs, as well as help with car repairs, and you've also donated used cars to working families through your car share program. So talk a little bit about how that works.
Well, the financial assistance that we give is not much. It's only $100 once every 12 months. But for someone who's in danger of having their national grid disconnected, $100 will usually buy them a 30-day extension to prevent termination of electric. So it's kind of a stopgap between HEAP, between that next paycheck, between that next Social Security check, to keep people from having, if you have your power, for instance, disconnected, you'll have to not only catch up the bill, but pay a service charge
for the
to have it reconnected.
Fee. Sure. One of the things that is brand new this spring, you got a grant to help you refurbish the old kitchen.
We did.
And so tell us a little bit about what your plans are with the kitchen and providing community-based meals.
Well, I have to tell you, the only reason that we were able to redo that kitchen again was because Barry Schultz donated most of the labor to rebuild that kitchen, to make it brand new. He rebuilt the kitchen, he built us an office, he built us a new bathroom, he built us a new sitting area. So he's put an incredible amount of volunteer time into that building, and it's got it looking fantastic for us. One of the things that they were doing at Helping Hands when I started as director was to have some informal soup and sandwich meals during Lent. And, I kind of asked how can we get the word out to publicize these free lunches that we're doing here. And the word was, well, we really can't, because, and I can say this now because we are health department approved, but back then we weren't health department approved. And so there was this fear that we were going to get closed down. And of course, everything was sanitary and very clean, and nobody ever got sick in those soup lunches that they were doing. But I said, if we're going to do something, we want to be able to publicize it. And so we kind of said, okay, let's invite the Board of Health to come meet with us and tell us what we need. And it was a pretty daunting list. But $40,000 later, we have a Board of Health approved kitchen. And again, thanks in large part to one volunteer who really said, I can do this. I don't think my board of directors would have let me take that on. If they were smart, they wouldn't, because I'm nowhere near the carpenter that Barry is.
That's right. Well, and of course that's his profession, so
that's right.
He's excellent at that, and it's wonderful that he has the time and the crew to donate to projects like that in the community. So have you started serving lunches yet? We
have for a couple months, and it's been kind of slow, I have to tell you, Donna. We want to invite anyone that's listening to come on down 12 noon, Monday through Thursday, and have lunch with us. There are no financial requirements, and if you want to make a donation, you're welcome to, but we don't expect that. So
and part of that is more than just the nutrition of it. It's also the social aspect, isn't it? That you're actually giving, especially when we go through a tough winter like we have.
That's right.
A lot of people are kind of shut in and they don't have the same opportunity to get out. And so something like that that's community-based makes it nice for,
That's right,
for
Donna.
folks to get
Yep.
some socialization.
And I have to tell you, I was picking up a couch for Helping Hands, and the fellow that I was picking it up from had done his master's thesis on the biggest need in St. Lawrence County. And at the time he was writing that master's thesis, he identified it as social isolation among senior citizens. And now, of course, those of us who are boomers, I am the youngest boomer generation, of that generation, but the need has grown, and there are so many people retiring and not only looking for something to do in terms of volunteering, which we have many newly retired, but also a place to socialize. And one of the neat things about Helping Hands is that they can do both. They can come down and fellowship and volunteer, but also just visit and meet other folks from the surrounding community who are looking for something meaningful to do.
You know, actually, you talk about the isolation, and Andrea Montgomery, who's the Office of the Aging Director here in St. Lawrence County, I had her on the program a few months ago. She talked about the exact same thing, is that's really a big problem, and particularly in a big county like ours where
That's right.
people are not clumped together in communities,
Yep.
but they're out in a lot of rural areas, that's a real problem for folks, and that it's one of the things that we know health-wise, that lack of stimulation only leads to additional kinds of health and mental health issues in folks. So
Absolutely, and you know, one of my many different jobs was pastoring a small United Methodist church in Cortland County in the town of Scott, and Scott maybe had 400 residents on my mailing list, and yet they had a senior nutrition program in that church. And for those seniors that came to lunch there Monday through Thursday, breakfast on Friday, that was the highlight of their day, to go and see all their buddies at the Methodist church. And Cortland County actually had a senior nutrition site in just about every small town. And in St. Lawrence County, Canton's got a few, Potsdam's got the Friendly Kitchen, Messina's got, I think, one, and I'm not sure about Ogdensburg. It's been a long time since I lived up there. But there's a huge need, and there are a lot of seniors who kind of are just living from meal to meal and waiting for someone to come and invite them to dinner or maybe go to the diner.
And that's one of the things I talked about with Andrea too, was the Meals on Wheels program, and how that is very much the high point of the day, and it's somebody to check on these folks who do live in these isolated rural areas, and you know, who they can't get out for whatever reason, especially if it's a long bout of bad weather and the roads aren't good. Well, one of the things, Tom, that we know is that an organization like yours always depends on your base of volunteers.
We do.
So tell us about who volunteers and the kinds of jobs you have and that you need help with in the event that there's somebody out there with time to give and would love to be involved.
Absolutely. The largest demographic in terms of who volunteers at Helping Hands are the newly retired, 50, 60, 70, and still lots of energy, lots of talent, lots of life experience. We've got a retired CPS worker, we've got a retired IBM computer guy, we've got a retired secretary, we've got several retired contractor, Barry, lots of people who have retired bank president who comes down every Wednesday and works the food pantry. Lots of folks with lots of talent who it would be crazy for them to just play golf every day.
Which would be hard to do up here anyway.
You can only play so much golf. I found myself that the more I play, the worse I get. So if I limit it to about 9 holes a week, I do okay.
So, what are you looking for in terms of what are the kind of jobs you have that you can put your volunteers onto? Give us a little sense of what the average volunteer might be doing in the course of a week or a month.
Well, you know, we've got actually fantastic support on site. One of the biggest needs, you just hit the nail on the head, is transportation. And, you know, I'll throw it out there that if anybody needs a ride to Helping Hands, we will offer that. And we've got lots of volunteers, all with nice vehicles and fully insured, safe drivers who are more than happy. We have a volunteer who took someone to the HEAP office who didn't have a way to get there and couldn't get through to anyone when they're busy. They're real busy.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
And so that is available to folks who would like a ride.
And probably also a bit of somebody to hold your hand through the process because they've seen how these kinds of things work.
It's very daunting to apply for services, especially if you've never done it before. But I have to tell you, I got a referral from one of the neighborhood centers and a couple that needed transportation. Their car was in the shop. She was working. He was laid off. So long story short, I said, well, I can go pick them up and bring them down to the pantry and serve them lunch. And that fellow must have ate 3 plates of food before he was full. And you could tell that he probably hadn't eaten a decent meal in at least a couple days. So we not only fed him, but we sent him home with food from the food pantry. And that's a big need. And we also have volunteers actually who deliver food pantry food.
Okay, so
as needed.
If somebody has that need, they can call you
and
you can make sure
deliver.
you get it to them. Because again, that transportation problem works both ways.
We've
if you've got
plenty
a
of volunteers
service,
with
that's
very
great.
reliable vehicles who are more than happy to go out and deliver groceries, so people can call.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the other side of your operation, which is the funding side of it, because as much as you get in donated goods and services, you do need to have an operating budget in order to do the work that you do. So what are the kinds of funding sources that you have, and what, how do you provide for that side of the need that you see?
We're almost entirely privately funded. And that's one of the neat things about Helping Hands. We do 4 newsletters a year. Our largest fundraiser is the golf tournament, which raises about $20,000 a year.
And that's actually coming up again this spring.
It's coming up in July,
right? Yeah.
yes. And we're looking for sponsors. And if you haven't gotten a letter yet, you probably will. We're looking for golfers. And I'll tell you what, Donna, the support of the churches that have all gotten together to support Helping Hands is the key. And maybe not everybody is affiliated with one of our member churches, but they probably know somebody who is.
Right.
And they're pretty good about spreading the word and letting people know what the need is. So most of our $50,000 a year budget comes from direct mail, those checks that you send to Helping Hands. Fortunately, our payroll is pretty low. I work 20 hours at Helping Hands. I'm the only paid employee there that's paid by Helping Hands. We've got some senior employment program volunteers through Pathstone, which is a great program to put seniors back to work. I came actually to the North Country to do the Colton Wesleyan job, and that's the Colton Wesleyan Church as a pastor. And that's my full-time, so this is actually only a part-time thing for me. But what I found is that the folks from Colton Wesleyan love to go down and volunteer at Helping Hands, because we haven't at Colton Wesleyan got the budget to have our own food pantry or to do financial assistance. And some of the member churches that support us do have that budget and also do their own things, but there are a few that this is a great way for them to be able to maximize their gifts in terms of pooling their resources to help other people.
Let's talk for just a second, Tom. Your program is completely non-denominational, although you're supported by programs.
Yep.
Nobody has to be a member of a church or associated with a church in order to take advantage of the help you give.
That's right.
So
yeah, important to
it is
recognize that.
It is important to do that.
I actually had a guy from, I think it was Kuwait, who was working on his doctoral thesis at Clarkson. And I don't want to say too much more because somebody might know who he was, but I actually connected him with Amnesty International and helped him get his citizenship because nobody else would. Nobody else knew what to do with him. So I was kind of amazed that we were successful, but that's kind of the attitude and the expectation at Helping Hands is that we don't do that, but we can do that.
Yes, exactly. That you know how to navigate the system, and you just need to find out where somebody needs to go to
I
help
wouldn't go
them.
that far. I know how to pray,
know.
and God usually gives me a word of knowledge about how to help someone. I can't take credit for being intelligent or knowledgeable, or I will call somebody like Daisy Cox who knows the system. So don't give me more credit than I deserve.
Well, but with your base of volunteers, that's from just the way you've described some of
right.
the life experiences of those folks. There's a very large base of knowledge there that you can tap into. And so I imagine when it comes time to solve problems, you've got quite a brain toss.
I'll tell you, that computer guy is very popular.
I'll bet.
Everybody wants a piece of him. And it's Roger Hart. He actually grew up in Parishville, large country family, and was very, very successful. Started at a very young age at IBM and retired from IBM. I think he played golf for quite a few years and ended up moving back to the North Country. And again, you can only play so much golf. And Roger's a pretty good golfer, but he's retired from golf, but he still comes to Helping Hands twice a week to volunteer and to help people learn computer skills, to fix computers. You really can't job hunt without
No, you can't.
computer skills. It's
That's
impossible.
correct.
And any place you go, they want you to apply online just about.
Yeah, that's very true. And so having access to those skills and understanding what that process is critical to being able to get employed. Let's talk a little bit about how people get in touch with you at Helping Hands in order to volunteer or to donate goods or services. So tell us, I know we put your phone number up as a graphic and we put your Facebook page up, so that's one way that you,
That's right,
you can get people. And you're great about, as I say, I see your PR pieces in North Country this week all the time, so that's another great avenue for all of us to get the word out about the organizations that we belong to. But tell folks how to volunteer, how to get a hold of you.
Yep, they can call me at 268-0633, and the volunteer application that we have is very simple, and there's generally something that just about anyone can do. So we've got a variety of indoor and outdoor jobs, on-site and off-site. So if you've got the desire, we will find something for you to do meaningful. So.
And what if somebody has an idea about a service to provide? You know, you mentioned about computer classes or something like that. If somebody's got a skill set like that that they'd like to offer to folks in need, could they also come to you with an idea?
Absolutely, yes. And not only will we be interested in hearing about suggestions for what we can provide, but also open up our facility to outside groups to come in and teach classes, use the kitchen, serve meals.
So what do you have in terms of inside the building for classes like that? What kind of space have you got available, just to kind of give people an idea about your physical logistics?
Well, you remember what used to be the Hannibal Falls United Methodist Church, pews on one side and a partition and a Sunday school room on the other side. That's pretty much what we have.
You still have that social hall then?
We do. When you open it all up, we can seat comfortably 50 people. Okay. And we've got the kitchen, which has got a convection oven, got a commercial range. So we're ready for anything and everything.
So, for example, if a group wanted to have some kind of a meeting with a meal, could they rent your space?
Absolutely.
Okay, yep. So that's good to know. That's good to know. And you've got parking. You got plenty of parking there. You've got the.
Well, we did until the snow came, and we've got some very large piles of snow still.
Well, a lot of us have large piles of snow.
It seems to be slowly growing. We're slowly rediscovering our parking lot.
Before all those 60 cord of wood come in and get filled up in the back, huh?
They do take up some space.
They do take up some space. All right. Well, Tom, thank you very much. I think we've all learned a lot about how your organization interacts with the other organizations in the county, and the kinds of specifics that you can do, and how you're meeting the need as you're finding it, and as the needs grow, you're growing to meet those needs. So thank you for coming in. I hope folks will take advantage of the offer that you've made to either donate time or goods or services, and it sounds like a great way to spend a few hours every week.
It is, and I'd like to thank all of our member churches and board members for their faithful support. Again, we've got so many volunteers who just kind of quietly do their part, and it's amazing.
Yeah, that's what community's all about, isn't it?
How easy it is when everybody does their piece.
Yep, that's exactly right. Well, thank you again. These conversations are a production of North Country Matters, which is produced here in the studios of WCKN on the Clarkson University campus. This show is a civic collaboration between the St. Lawrence County branch of the American Association of University Women, the St. Lawrence County League of Women Voters, and the Communication and Media Department here at Clarkson. Until next time, please remember, our North Country matters.